What if everything you thought you knew about these Hollywood stars was only half the story? Before the fame, the cameras, and the red carpet glamour, some of them were living private battles that would completely transform their lives. These are not just shocking celebrity makeovers. They are powerful journeys of identity, pain, courage, and truth. And once you discover what they looked like before and who they fought to become, you may never see stardom the same way again. Before Chaz Bono became a visible voice for authenticity and self-acceptance, he was simply someone trying to make sense of feelings that had followed him for years. Growing up as the child of major celebrities meant living under constant public attention, and that kind of spotlight can make any personal struggle feel even heavier. On the surface, everything may have seemed picture-perfect, but internally, Chaz was facing a truth that was becoming impossible to ignore. The identity the world expected him to live did not feel like his own, and carrying that disconnect day after day created a quiet but lasting pain. What makes Chaz's journey so compelling is not just the fact that he transitioned, but the strength it took to do so while the world was watching. Coming to terms with his identity was deeply personal, and for a long time he managed those emotions privately. But eventually, honesty became more important than comfort. In 2008, he made the life-changing decision to begin his transition, and by 2010, he had taken major steps that finally allowed him to feel more at home in his own body. That chapter of his life was shared with the public through the documentary Becoming Chaz, which offered a raw and human look at his experience. At the same time, Chaz was also breaking barriers in entertainment, appearing in projects like The Secret Life of the American Teenager and American Horror Story. His journey became bigger than one person's transformation. It became a story about resilience, truth, and visibility. And perhaps most touching of all, it also showed that even when understanding takes time, love can still remain strong enough to grow. Before Andreja Pejic became a symbol of transformation and authenticity in fashion, she was already someone the world could not stop looking at. Her beauty was different, magnetic, and impossible to place into a single category. As an androgynous model, Andreja stood out for her ability to walk both men's and women's runways with ease, blurring boundaries in a fashion world that had long depended on clear labels. She did not just fit into the industry, she disrupted it. And in doing so, she opened people's eyes to a different kind of beauty. But while the outside world admired her appearance, Andreja was living through a much deeper internal journey. Growing up between Bosnia and Australia, she often felt disconnected from what others expected her to be. There were early signs, quiet moments of curiosity, femininity, and self-recognition. But understanding those feelings took time. Even when the fashion industry embraced her uniqueness, there was still a part of her identity that remained unresolved. Success did not erase that inner conflict. It only made the truth harder to ignore. Eventually, Andreja chose honesty over fear. In 2014, she publicly transitioned and embraced life as a woman, fully stepping into her truth despite the uncertainty that came with it. For many, that could have marked the end of a career. For Andreja, it became the start of an even more powerful chapter. She went on to break barriers as one of the first openly transgender models to achieve major global success, including appearances in Vogue and international campaigns. Her journey proves that real beauty is not just about appearance. It is about having the courage to become exactly who you are. Before Laverne Cox became a groundbreaking actress and one of the most visible transgender advocates in the world, she was a young person trying to survive in an environment that often made her feel ashamed of who she was. Growing up in Mobile, Alabama, Laverne understood from an early age that she did not fit neatly into the expectations placed on her. Her femininity made her a target, and the bullying and rejection she faced left deep emotional scars. But even in that difficult environment, there was something inside her that refused to disappear. One of the few places where Laverne felt free was through dance. It gave her an outlet, a way to express emotion and identity in a world that constantly tried to silence both. She poured herself into movement, using art as a kind of survival. But outside that space, life remained deeply complicated. Religious pressure, social expectations, and internal shame all added weight to a struggle she carried for years. Eventually, that pain became overwhelming, leading to a suicide attempt that could have ended her story far too soon. Instead, it became a turning point. After moving to New York, Laverne began fully stepping into her truth. She transitioned, embraced her identity, and slowly built a life rooted in authenticity instead of fear. Her breakthrough role as Sophia Bursette on Orange is the New Black brought her worldwide recognition. But what made Laverne truly unforgettable was the honesty she carried both on and off the screen. She did not just become a star, she became a voice. Her journey reminds us that visibility matters, authenticity matters, and sometimes the most powerful success story begins with simply surviving long enough to become yourself. Before Carmen Carrera became a voice for visibility and respect, she was already someone audiences could not ignore. When she appeared on Season 3 of RuPaul's Drag Race, her beauty, poise, and magnetic presence immediately made her one of the most talked-about contestants of the season. She stood out not just because of how she looked, but because of the confidence and elegance she brought to every moment on screen. But behind that public image, Carmen was moving toward a much more personal transformation. After the show, Carmen made the deeply meaningful decision to transition and live openly as herself. It was a bold step, especially under public attention, where every change could be judged, misunderstood, or reduced to entertainment. One of the biggest challenges she faced was that many people had trouble separating the drag character they had seen on television from the woman she truly was in real life. That gap in understanding became part of her journey, and instead of hiding from it, Carmen faced it directly. She used her platform not only to share her own story, but to help educate others about what it really means to transition. Her voice became especially influential when she called out harmful and outdated language connected to RuPaul's Drag Race, pushing the conversation toward more respect and awareness. Carmen Carrera's story is not just about transformation. It is about courage, truth, and the strength to keep standing tall while helping the world see transgender identity with more humanity and understanding. Before Alexandra Billings became a groundbreaking actress and advocate, she was simply someone trying to survive in a world that did not know how to make room for her truth. From an early age, she understood that her identity did not match the role others expected her to play. That realization came with pain, fear, and a deep sense of isolation, especially during a time when transgender voices were rarely heard and almost never celebrated. For Alexandra, one of the first places that offered comfort was the theater. On stage, she could escape judgment and step into a space where emotion, creativity, and honesty were allowed to exist. It was more than performance. It was protection. It was the one place where she could feel close to herself. But outside the world of theater, life was far more complicated. She faced rejection, instability, and the exhausting pressure of trying to exist in a society filled with misunderstanding and prejudice. Even with all of that, Alexandra never lost sight of who she was. She eventually made the life-changing decision to transition and live openly as a woman. It was not an easy path, and it certainly was not without risk. But that choice became the turning point that allowed her to build a life rooted in truth instead of fear. Over time, Alexandra earned respect not only for her talent, but for her honesty and strength. Her success in television helped make transgender representation more visible, but her influence goes even deeper than that. Alexandra Billings' story reminds us that real transformation is not just about appearance. It is about having the courage to claim your identity and live it out loud. Before Erica Irvin became known as one of the most unique figures in fashion and entertainment, she was already someone the world could not overlook. At 6'8", her height made her instantly memorable, and for many people, that was the first thing they noticed. But Erica's story is about far more than physical presence. It is about identity, confidence, and the courage to live authentically when the spotlight already feels impossible to escape. In many ways, being highly visible can make personal truth even harder to reveal, because people often think they already know who you are just by looking at you. As Erica considered opening up about her transition, she understood that stepping into that truth publicly would not be easy. There was uncertainty, vulnerability, and the very real pressure that comes with being judged by others. A friend once gave her playful advice, suggesting she begin that journey in Sweden because people there might be more accepting. The comment may have been humorous, but it pointed to something real. For transgender people, coming out is never just a personal moment. It can also become a public risk, especially for someone already living under attention. Still, Erica moved forward and built a career that embraced exactly what made her different. She became widely recognized in modeling and later gained attention as Amazon Eve in American Horror Story Freak Show. Even more striking, she auditioned for the role while still presenting as male and only revealed her transgender identity after she got it. Erica Irvin's journey is a powerful reminder that difference does not have to be hidden. Sometimes it becomes the very thing that makes your story inspiring. Before Fallon Fox became one of the most talked-about figures in combat sports, she was simply someone trying to survive a reality that never fully matched who she knew herself to be. Growing up in Toledo, Ohio, Fallon sensed from an early age that she was different. She felt more at ease around girls, but in a world shaped by rigid expectations, there was little room to express that openly. What she carried inside was deeply personal, yet the environment around her made honesty feel dangerous. When Fallon finally tried to reveal that truth, the reaction at home was devastating. Her mother dismissed her feelings, and her father believed they could be corrected. That belief led to conversion therapy, something Fallon later described as profoundly painful. It was not just rejection, it was an attempt to erase something fundamental about who she was. But even through that experience, Fallon never completely lost sight of herself. Quietly and steadily, she held on to the truth she had always known. Eventually, without family support, she made the courageous decision to transition and build a life based on authenticity instead of fear. That journey eventually led her into mixed martial arts, one of the most physically demanding and publicly scrutinized arenas imaginable. Fallon became one of the first openly transgender women in professional MMA, and with that visibility came intense controversy. Some critics focused on fairness, while others emphasized inclusion and changing standards in sports. What made her story especially striking was how everything changed once she came out. Before, she was judged as an athlete. After, she was treated like a public argument. Fallon Fox's story is bigger than the cage. It is about resilience, visibility, and the ongoing fight for understanding in places that resist change. These stories are not just about fame or appearance. They are about identity, resilience, and the courage to finally live as your true self. Every journey you've seen today reminds us that authenticity often comes with struggle, but it also comes with strength. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss more unforgettable stories from beyond the spotlight.